seems there's some pretty significant shifts that just happened in 2 short weeks, which is good. And it's typically what I observe is that there might be 1-2 week period where somewhere you have that massive shift, the next 2 week period where it feels like nothing goes on, but somebody else has that massive shift, and that it's just swings and roundabouts is part of this lovely journey of being a founder. So given that the bill now rings 6 p.m. exactly, let's get started. I'll try and get you out of here as quickly as possible tonight, but there is a fair amount of stuff to cover. The way that we probably should cover this is that there's a set of sections here. We'll run through each of them, and then as we're in that section, I'll take QA feedback or whatever not, because if we bunch it up to the end, it's going to be terrible. So, just because I need to say this, I'm not going to give you formal legal advice, and you need to check with your lawyers and accountants and everyone else. So what we're talking about today is basically all the legal stuff that needs to be around a business in order for it to be protected, and in order for yourselves as founders to be protected, and in order for if somebody goes after you and does something nasty, you don't necessarily go down the flag. So the first part of that is the shareholders agreement. Show of hands those that already have a shareholders agreement for whatever purpose or have had one in the past. So roughly almost half the room. Cool, very good. So it's pretty basic. A shareholders agreement should be a simple agreement. It should be 10 to 15 pages, not 25 to 30 pages. In case some of you have a 25 to 30 page one, you probably need to find a different lawyer. That is not how they're meant to be. And there's a practical reason why shareholders agreements need to be simple. It's the agreement or the document that you need an incoming investor to sign. And I can assure you that more than one good investment deal has fallen through simply because the investor looks at it going too fucking hard and they chuck it out and they walk away because it's not worth their time reading legalese for hours. It's not worth them paying their lawyers for several hours worth of the reading legalese for hours. Because if you can't understand it by leafing through it and you see a number of these, it's just not worth doing. I see a lot of very poorly written shareholders agreements, unfortunately, and it's not because I'm a bone to pick with the legal profession, but it's just there is a lot of very, very poor legal work done. So, generally speaking, you see shareholders agreements that are written from 2 angles. One is the lawyer's angles, it's written in legalese text, and it's lovely if you want to spend $40,000 worth of litigation money. The other kind of shareholders agreement is written from the founders and investors angle, and it's pretty much plain English. It still has the same legal structure, still has the same legal strength if you bring it into a court, but it's actually written in such a way that normal people like all of us here can actually read it. It binds the shareholders, which is really its only sole single purpose. It is a lot easier to do one of those earlier than late. In other words, if you've got 5 shareholders and maybe they were family, friends, or the first seed investors, and you're going, let's now again get some big money, and then you're going to go, let's just buy the existing shareholders, that could be a lot harder. Simply because they might go, well, hang on a bit, you didn't tell me about that when I gave you the $20,000. So you want to sign a deal? Oh, let's see about that. And suddenly, I'm not saying they're necessarily difficult people, but suddenly it's another conversation you didn't really need to have. So this is one of the first things you need to think about drafting up quite early in the piece. There's ways around, there's ways to defer that, but when you start signing shareholders up and you give them equity and give them share certificates, you should have one of these. Absolutely. So it's one of those, yep.
Just with that, and you're talking about legal firms, is there any tips that you have about sourcing a legal firm? Like what should you look for them to be?
Yeah, I think my tip is very simple. We send all the legal work that we have with clients, we send it to one single firm called Hickson's. And the reason we send it to them, and this is a free plug, but basically it's because they always do the right thing.
Dixon's, was it?
Hickson's.
Oh, Hickson's.
Yeah. The thing to look for generically in a legal firm is you want to have someone that writes in plain English,
right,
and someone that will actually specifically boast about the fact that they drive stuff in plain English. You should definitely look for that. And the other thing you need to look for is someone that gives you stuff for fixed price. In other words, they should get your brief first, and you may need to pay them for taking the brief, and that's fair enough if it's a complex brief. Once they get the brief, they should come back to you and say, this will cost you $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, whatever dollars. I do not favour the kind where, oh, just put 10K into our escrow account and we'll think about it. No, that's not how it works. Because it's an open-ended thing.
Yeah.
These guys are professionals. If they're good at what they do, they know exactly how long it takes. They know exactly what's involved. They might say, okay, for this you'll get 3 revisions or whatever it is. Some of them just going, we'll just write it. Because a good shareholders agreement should be written such that they will actually give you a questionnaire and say, what kind of structure do you want?
Okay.
What kind of paragraphs do you want or not want? And from that they can say, well, this is exactly how long is this going to take, and therefore we'll give you exact price.
Okay.
It's not complex.
All right.
And so if they can't give you a fixed price, oh no, we don't do it like that, I'll just say, well, just call the next number.
Okay.
Some of them will give you a range, and it's going to be between 3 and 3.5, that's fine.
Sure, but not 6 minute
we'll
increments.
just see whatever. Or
Yeah.
just send us the money and we'll start talking about it. That's just dangerous. And it's the same as you wouldn't go to the dentist and say, oh, just open my mouth and see what you feel like doing today, right? It's kind of similar. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Pleased today.
Yeah. It's a bit cozy in here, but we're getting very, very friendly with each other. So yeah, it's about getting this thing right from the start. So this is one of the things that is worth just exploring, spending a bit of time on. So, a couple of things around the shareholders agreement. So, I mentioned this already in one of our previous sessions, and forgive me, I can't actually remember which session it was, but there are often in a shareholders agreement enshrined a set of special clauses. So the special clauses that are referred to here are the things that are requiring you as the founders special permission or your decision-making power. In other words, you don't want to issue new capital, you don't want to have new people on the board, and you don't want to have a random new business plan enacted without your say-so. And this is a protection not for this year, not for next year, but for 4 years down the track when you suddenly own 37% of your company, because you raised so much money and you're going so well that technically from a voting majority, you actually now don't have a majority but a minority, but there are still certain things that you must be able to control in the company. This is not about being unfavorable to the investor. This is about upholding the principles of what they signed on for in the beginning. This is making sure that no one hijacks the agenda. This is what it's all about. So the special clause is not about being completely unreasonable, like every time someone brings on the board, then I want to have a final say no. But this is about the big stuff. Annual business plan, say new share issues, board of directors, and similar stuff. Oh, we're just gonna. It could be, say, things like we're going to spend more than $100,000, you as a founder still have a final say in that. But everything else should just go to a simple vote on the board. Because remember the drawing that I made at some point in time previous, I think that was best module 2, where the shareholders up here, we have the board that goes below that, and then we have the management team. So the shareholders delegate that voting responsibility to the people on the board, which is why you want to talk to people that can join you on the board as non-executive directors, so you don't necessarily get voted out too soon. I'll come back to you in a second. But you got to make sure you've got some balance in there. So yes, I mean.
Company structures, do you see that as a lawyer responsibility or an accountant responsibility?
Absolutely a lawyer responsibility, unless it is what we call a structuring an accountant. For a normal accountant is not who you want to go to. There are accountants, however, out there that are specialists, and again, I'm happy to refer you to people that we work with, whose entire life is structuring company structures, particularly international structures. When you are setting up an international structure, you probably actually want to consult both. You want to make sure you've spoken to the lawyers, you want to make sure you've spoken to an accountant that has international experience. Because there's tax at stake, there's ownership at stake, there's asset protection at stake, and a whole lot of things, which we're going to come back to about 10 slides later on. So we talked about drag along as well and tag along, but I just want to reiterate this because this is so important. So the drag along clause in the Good Shareholders Agreement basically allows you to drag along other investors, in other words, other shareholders. So we now have a situation where 5 years into the future, it is 2023. That's bloody hard to think of. But it's 2023, somebody's made you a crazy offer, it's coming on the email last night, and you're going, oh my God, somebody's going to buy my company, and you own, say, 50 or whatever % of the company. And so you're going to make a lot of money. But they made a conditional offer that is, it's going to be all the shares or nothing. Right? So you have to have the right or the ability to drag along every other shareholder into the deal. They might come in kicking and screaming. Sometimes you have a situation where a founder wants to exit early. The other shareholders go, no, give it another couple of years. We think you can triple the value. This is not a good enough offer. You know, oh, I'm tired. I want to get out of here. Right? That's why you need that clause. The tag along is the equivalent, except it's the other way, because there has been situations where an external party comes along, oh, she's got 55% of the share capital, we'll just buy your capital, and we've got voting majority, we don't give a toss about the other investors. And the other investors were those that gave you the seed capital, those that gave you the pre-series, pre-A, and they're going to go, hang on a minute, what about me? And the big company just goes, we don't care. And so they have a reasonable moral right to come along and therefore tag along to the offer that you got. So the two drag along, tag along, they actually work like this. It's like a yin and yang. So it's a bit like, from the investor's perspective, they want to make sure they have the tag along, because otherwise they could be left behind. And say, well, do you want to make sure you have a drag along? So they are written almost as mirror clauses we talk when you read them. The other thing that a shareholders agreement governs, which is really, really important to understand, is an exiting shareholder. So imagine someone that's had a change of life circumstances. They want to move to Argentina, or they got divorced, or whatever. And the husband is now just about to sue them because they realize, hey, you've got a lot of money in this company here, I'm going to sue you and get the shares off you. So you now need to suddenly exit this company prematurely, so to speak. Like, I'm not talking about you as a founder, but one of the shareholders. And so what the shareholders agreement governs is the fact, well, how are they going to do that? Are we going to have an external valuation of the company? So they're going to sell the shares, right? It's the only way they can free up enough money, and let's assume that shares aren't worth real money. Let's assume that if they exit their stake, it's worth $2 million. So it's big money. So do we have an external validation, or is it just, we can just agree it's worth that, and so therefore it's traded that? Or how do we value that transaction? What do we as collective, as shareholders going into the agreement, agree that is a reasonable way of valuing that? And we do that now, where there's nothing at stake, because doing that in 3 years is not funny. It can lead to lots of very ugly grievances and probably to lawsuits. Whereas the shareholders agreement says, we've agreed that we're going to have two external valuations, you're going to pay for one of them, the other part's going to pay for the other one, the rest of us have a first right of refusal, let's see what happens. So let's.
And does the shareholders agreement change over time? Like, let's say after Series A, do you revise the shareholders agreement at that point? And
preferably not.
Okay.
However, there can be situations where, say, in the first couple of rounds that you raised, whatever, say $1 million for the first seed and Series A, and you're now going to go on and raise $10 million, and those coming in says, look, we're not going to give you the $10 million on the basis of the shareholders agreement. We want to have blah, blah, blah clauses in there, or we're going to have a special thing on the side of it. So there's two ways of executing that. Is either you basically have a variation of the shareholders agreement, which means you're going to go back to all the original shareholders and say, we can only get the deal if you all sign off on this, which can be hard. Sometimes